Welcome to Rehash.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Rehash, a Web3 podcast. I'm your host, Diana Chen, and today we're speaking with Ibn Inglor, an alternative hip-hop artist from Chicago's far south side who has been dedicated to exploring original ideas at the cutting edge of technology. Last summer, Ibn successfully crowdfunded 20 ETH on Mirror to work on a new EP, and he was also the first hip-hop artist to release music on Sound.xyz and the first music artist on Coinbase to launch a successful membership NFT campaign. Ibn's latest project, Danger Zone, which he crowdfunded through Mirror, is intended to give listeners a glimpse into his upbringing in one of Chicago's most violent neighborhoods and bring hope to the children living there today. Ibn was nominated by me, Diana Chen, and voted onto the podcast by David Phelps, Anay Sim, Stefan Delaveau, and myself. Before we dive into our conversation, here's a quick word from the Web3 projects that helped make this season possible.
Social media wasn't designed for ads and algorithms. It was made for people. And at Lens Protocol, we're putting people back in control. We're not looking for users' data. We're here to build a community of collaborators, builders, artists, and dreamers ready to unlock a new world of social media. This isn't just an app. It's a flourishing ecosystem of platforms and experiences owned and operated by the developers and creators who are bringing it to life. In the Lensverse, you don't just own your content, you own everything. Your data, your connections, the value you bring to the table, it all stays in your possession, exactly where it should be. As a creator, the Lens ecosystem offers a new set of tools for connecting with your audience. Your data is truly portable and belongs to you. Post once and distribute everywhere in the Lensverse. You can even take your followers with you from app to app. As a developer, you can skip right past building the base layers and scaling your users by plugging your new app directly into Lens's existing infrastructure and community. So whether you create with a brush or a camera, sound waves or lines of code, it's time you got your due. Come create the future of social media with us on Lens Protocol. Lens is the last social media handle you'll ever need.
Have you seen how epic Ambire Wallet is?
How epic it is?
Yeah, cue the music. Ambire is a Web3 wallet that makes crypto self-custody easy and secure for everyone. Instead of relying on clunky seed phrases, you can create an account with the hardware wallet or username and password, secure it with two-factor authentication, and regain access with Ambire's cloud recovery. Need to pay out some contributors or execute a bunch of trades? No problem, Chief. Queue up as many transactions as you want, and when you're ready, execute the entire batch at the same time, paying gas only once. You can even prepay for gas with stablecoins or Ambire's native wallet token, which will get you some cash back. Without ever leaving the Ambire interface, you can manage assets from over a dozen chains, safely migrate them with Ambire's built-in bridge, and seamlessly interact with dApps like Uniswap, Aave, and Snapshot, all within the same transaction. Plus, Ambire is constantly growing their dApp catalog with trusted partners and collaborating with builders who want to establish the new standard for smart contract wallets. So, pretty epic, huh?
Yeah, I already know all that though. I've had an Ambire wallet for months.
And you didn't tell me?
You never asked.
To get involved and truly own your assets, go to ambire.com.
How was your day?
Bad.
What happened?
I bought some NFTs and then they just disappeared.
Sounds like your NFT creator should have used NFT.storage.
NFT dot what?
NFT.storage. Come on, I'll show you. With NFT.storage, anyone can easily upload their NFT data to a decentralized and reliable storage network, completely for free.
Wow! How does it work?
Well, instead of relying on centralized and impermanent storage solutions, NFT.storage uploads your files to IPFS and Filecoin. These are powerful peer-to-peer networks that are made for the decentralized web. Thanks to IPFS's unique storage system, you can be confident that once your files are uploaded, they'll be accessible from anywhere in the world for as long as you'd like. They're already trusted by some of the biggest names in Web3, like OpenSea, Magic Eden, and Rarible. By adding files to these networks for free, NFT.storage is helping to turn proper NFT data management into a public good. This will ensure that NFTs will remain accessible and secure in the long run, so you won't get rugged again.
Gee, so I just upload my files and NFT.storage will take care of the rest?
Now you're getting it. Go to nft.storage today to upload some NFT data of your own for free. And be sure to follow nft.storage on Twitter at nft.storage.
So without further ado, here's our guest, Ibn. Welcome to the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Good morning. Good times. Feeling good. Just happy to be on. Been a big fan of the podcast, so just happy to be here.
Love the energy,
Yes.
love the vibes. I've been a big fan of you ever since Stefan told me about you and I checked out your music, found out you were from Chicago. I'm also from Chicago. So felt that connection right away. And I'm just excited to chat with you and get to know a little bit more about your background and all the work that you've done in Web3 as one of the most, I would say, forward-thinking and cutting-edge artists in the Web3 space so far. So to start us off, can you just tell us a little bit about your background and your upbringing in Chicago and how that has influenced your current album, Danger Zone, but also just your music in general along the way?
Man, so I grew up in a place called Altgeld Gardens. It's far south side of Chicago, 130th. And just growing up there, basically, I grew up in a hood, what a lot of people call the trenches. So it was tough. It was an experience within itself. It was just such a small bubble to kind of be growing up in. I really didn't explore the city until I want to say my sophomore year of high school. And once I did start discovering the city, it was just like a whole new world. Like it was like, oh, there is a world outside of the gardens, but I didn't know about for so long. And I want to say the influence just from my music has always came from where I'm from. It always came from my hood. It came from the experiences I've went through, the losses I've went through, the wins that I've gained all around. Like just growing up in that specific place in this part of the city really embedded in me a certain type of personality. I got to experience a lot of different people growing up, a lot of different personalities. I had to adjust to a lot of different things. And I want to say like the Gardens pretty much made me who I am today and still making me who I am. I'm still out there every day, still moving around. Pretty much my whole family's out there. That's what was kind of the beauty of it also. It's like I didn't have to catch a bus or get a car ride to a different part of the city to go see an aunt or my grandma or my granddad or even my cousins. We all literally grew up in the Gardens, and my family's been there for I want to say for forever actually. So yeah, and I feel like with Danger Zone is pretty much a metaphor for the Gardens. You know, I couldn't say like the Altgeld Garden Zone. I don't know if that would have been like marketable enough. So I branded it in a way that kind of like made sense to tell the story of the gardens and give a sense of like what's actually out there. And then the whole EP is pretty much dedicated to the gardens and my story out there and showcasing like, you know, the people I've lost and having someone on the intro of the EP, you hear a lady talking and she's basically giving a story that kind of, I think should put listeners in a place where they can see where the gardens was when she was growing up, which was years, like over maybe 50 years ago versus to where it is now or where it was when she visited again. And then up until where it is now, it's pretty much gotten like a little worse than it was before. So I feel like it's definitely a story to be told coming from the gardens and really just being from that pretty much that side of the city. You know, a lot of us take a lot of pride. Everyone that's from the gardens would take a lot of pride about being from the gardens. Anywhere, if you meet anybody in the world and they say, I'm from Chicago, I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm from the gardens. Oh, you from the gardens? Yeah, I'm from the gardens. So what block you from? I'm from block 7. I'm from, you know, we really hit it off. So yeah, I really feel like Danger Zone is pretty much the epitome of what it's like to be growing up in that place.
It sounds like it was a really tight-knit community, and I'd love to talk to you more about that down the line and kind of how that experience with community you had growing up in the gardens has maybe influenced your experience building community now around your music and especially in the Web3 community. But first, I'm curious, how did you start to learn about Web3? Like, how did you first hear about Web3? And then how did you start to wrap your mind around it and understand it? And not just understand it, but you really like... You understood that so well that you understood how to apply a lot of those Web3 concepts to your career as an artist, which, you know, I think a lot of people still have a hard time wrapping their minds around. So how did you first hear about Web3 and how did you start to like understand what that could do for yourself as a creator?
Man, it was one of my best friend, my brother Brandon Mahone. He told me like, man, I've been hearing about NFTs. You should get into NFTs. And I was like, yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know that much about it. I ain't really been active. I've been, dealing with family life and stuff like that. So once I really took a dive into it, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was still 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I was really just trying to figure out what this tech and what this world actually was, and not come in too naive into the industry, because there's been people that's been in this industry for a lot longer than I have and that's been winning, and they kind of understood the tech like you say I did. And like once it clicked for me, like I was like, okay, yeah, this actually makes sense. It's revolutionary. It's revolutionizing artists and creators, and all really independent artists and creators. It's really for us and really pumping us. And once I really seen that, I was like, okay, yeah, this is a no brainer. I was 1 foot in, 1 foot out. In the beginning, my first music NFT I put up was on Zora. It's called Ultra Instinct. And I just stepped away. Like I walked away from my computer, kept living my life, doing things here and there, came back to check on it. Wasn't nothing sold. I still was like seeing other people doing things. They're doing different things in the space. And then I signed up for the waitlist for Catalog. Shout out to Catalog. And Alex Cyber reached out to me over email just saying like, hey, I seen that you applied for the wait list. I've been a huge fan of you since like back in 2013. Like, we'll love to get you on the platform. And I was like, whoa, okay. So that was like the first big sign for me. And when I got on there and I minted my first song, it was like within like 5 minutes of me minting that song, I had got an offer, and I was just like, oh shit, like, whoa, that was kind of fast. That happened like extremely fast. It was nothing I was really expecting to happen so soon. And it was for probably like 0.25 ETH. At the time, it was probably around like, I want to say like 500 some dollars. And I was just like, damn, like I'm actually making, money off of my music now. And my fiance was saying the same thing. She was like, yo, like you did it. You feel me? Like you're actually making money off your music now. It's not just, some hobby that you've been going on for all these many years. You've been so serious about it. And now you're actually reaping the benefits of being an artist for real, for real. And I was like, damn, you're kind of right. But I still was on the fence, because I was like, man, what if this is just a one-off? What if this is just not like gonna continue to happen? When does it end? I was just thinking of many different things that could happen and where things really could go. And I want to say I put up like a couple more songs, and they just kept getting bids. They kept getting bids, and I ended up getting higher bids. And I was like, wow, okay, this is actually turning into something that I can really foster and build a community around, and build and connect with the people that are buying my music and actually liking my music. And it put a lot more reassurance back into myself after putting music on a back burner for almost, I want to say, almost like 4 or 5 years of my career. I put music on the back burner. I was working, life hit, and then this just reignited that spark. I'm like, man, like, okay, I actually do make music for a reason. I make music for people to resonate with, to experience, and to actually love, and, change people's lives and stuff like that. So when it started to happen for real, I was like, wow, okay, yeah, I am an artist and I do make music for this type of audience. And I'm happy to be still doing what I do, and doing it to the point where now I'm making money off of my music. And after that, like I fully dived into everything. I was on Twitter Spaces day and night. This was when like my oldest son was like a little younger, so I was able to stay up until like almost like 4 o'clock in the morning, being on Twitter Spaces, connecting with people, building, and sharing my story. Ultimately, that's what it was at first, just really hearing other people's stories, not really hopping into spaces saying like, yo, I got this music NFT I'm selling, I got this one I'm selling. It was like, no, it was just really natural conversation, which is where I feel like I thrive. And, when you feel like you can talk to people and just be yourself and be regular, I feel like that's when it all comes into fruition. And it's like, yeah, I'm an artist, yes, but I'm also just a regular guy. I like regular things. I like to talk about different type of stuff. I like to talk about anime, movies, shows, whatever the case may be, share experiences, resonate with people, and be a voice for the people that aren't on the stage right now that might not get pulled up to talk. I want to be a voice for people that's from the same areas I'm from, that's from some type of hood, that don't really feel comfortable being up on the stage and talking how they talk, because we talk a certain type of way that doesn't resonate with a lot of people, and it might come off too aggressive, but it's really just like, yo, this is how I talk. This is how I've always spoken. This is where I come from. It's not going to change. And I respect everybody in the space that really accepted me for that. And understood like, okay, yeah, Ibn is from where he's from. He's going to be him regardless of wherever he's at, and he's going to do him. So yeah, it was shaky at first, but I'm happy I did like jump the gun and really just hop in full throttle and really start connecting, because I found a family here and a family of artists at that too. So yeah, it's been great.
I loved how you said, that Web3 really is for independent artists like yourself. I agree with that so much. I think it enables, an artist to be able to mint a song as an NFT, drop that, make, $500 on one collect. And that's significant for, especially somebody who's just starting out in the music world and trying to make it, and being able to do that without getting signed to a major record label, or without having to like go on YouTube and try to get millions of subscribes before you make any money, or going on Spotify and having to get millions of streams before, you're making like a couple bucks doing that. This Web3 has really enabled a real way for artists, independent artists and newer artists to make a significant income for their music. Has that kind of been your experience? Because that's just been my observations from the sidelines, but you actually went through all of this. Has that been your experience? Is there, anything else that you've experienced that I kind of missed there that you think is important to call out?
I mean, that's part of it. It is a downside to it where, we do hit a market where when you don't know nothing about crypto and you're like, yo, the market's crashing, and you're like, what market? Like, what's going on? Like, what are you even talking about? Like, I don't know pretty much anything about, crypto or DeFi or anything like that. I just know I'm selling NFTs and people are buying them for X amount of money. But then you have to take a step back and realize like, yo, people aren't just made of money. Money isn't just falling off trees, like everyone would like to say. And it does come a time where you might not get a sale. Like, you might not sell out a NFT. You might not get a bid. You might not reach that collector at the time. And it could also just be not that people don't want to collect your material. It just might be that people just don't have the funds to do that right now. And that's a side of it that I feel like is missing in a lot of like the chats about, this space and what it could do for artists. I feel like when onboarding new artists to the space, it's imperative that you be very realistic about your description of what this space is and how it's happening, and all this stuff it's imperative that you actually give them a full story of, what it's like being an artist that is using this technology and the ups and downs that do come with it, and giving them that and then letting them run with that and see what they want to do with it. But another thing is also like, man, making sure that you're keeping up with the people who are supporting you and showing like, that love for you. Because again, a lot of independent artists have come from a place where we don't really get the support. We don't really see that support a lot. So whenever you do see it, it's like, hold on to it for dear life and always keep those connections and always keep growing for real, because without these people believing in you, you feel me, you'll be at square one figuring out who does believe in me. When will somebody believe in me? And then once you do have someone, just don't forget about them.
What are some ways that you've kind of, made sure that your supporters know that you haven't forgotten about them and that you still appreciate them? What are some ways that you've like maintained those relationships over time?
Man, I go on Twitter and I just go through my DMs and I'm like, man, who haven't I messaged in a while? And I just send them like a follow up, like, yeah, man, just dropping in, showing love, just saying what's going on with you. Real human, like, I like to just be real regular, see what's going on in their life, seeing, what type of conversation might spark just out of, a follow-up message. And then some of my collectors actually have my phone number and we just chat, we're even hop on a call and just talk about life stuff. Some of my collectors have kids. We talk about how our kids are doing this and doing that. We talk about family stuff. We get deep for real. So it really happens just naturally. It's not nothing that I like to force. And I love how my collectors, they understand what type of artist I am, and they understand that I am a family man and I do have, a fiance and 2 kids, and they don't really pressure me too much about being active in this space or being consistent like a lot of people may say. But I see it as finding the community that understands you and what type of artist you are and what type of person you are as well. So that way the expectations isn't super sky high or skyrocketed out of the roof. It's like, okay, we understand that this artist is capable of doing this, that, and the third. And when they do show up, they show up with everything that they have. They don't half-ass it. They come in and give it they all. And I'm happy to have like a community around me that actually understands that and appreciates that. And I appreciate them.
That's so cool to hear. I feel like your ability to be vulnerable about all aspects of your life with your listeners is something special too, because I think especially in the space, like I'm in this crypto Twitter bubble, right? And so like I only get to see this crypto side of people's personalities on Twitter. And then sometimes I'll find these people on Instagram and we'll like connect on Instagram. And then I'm like, holy shit, okay, this is who they are as a person. You know, like Twitter is just their crypto personality. And I mean, I'm guilty of the same thing. I very much, you know, fragment my life a little bit too. And I try to post about like the nature and the dogs and stuff on Twitter once in a while too, so people know that side of me. But there's a lot more that I'm not sharing on crypto Twitter because I try to keep it just crypto. How do you I guess like let yourself be so vulnerable with your listeners about all aspects of your life? And do you feel like your upbringing in the gardens maybe, you know, contributed to this kind of like mentality that you have about building community?
Man, it's I want to say it's just naturally me. Like I'll post a picture of my family here in like every once in a while, and that'll get a ton of reactions. And I see that people actually like seeing family on their timeline every once in a while. And me and my fiance took our kid out for Halloween, posted some Halloween pictures. I did a surprise baby shower for my fiance, posted that. A lot of people a lot of, you know, my collective supporters in the space was like, they were in, I let them know like what I was doing. And it was like, oh man, go for it. You're going to get it done. It's that and the third. So I was like, all right, bet. And then once it actually happened, I followed up with them like, man, it was a success. She loved it. This, that, and the third. Everyone, you know, congratulated me. I want to say being from the gardens, it's actually like the complete opposite, to be honest. It is, but it isn't. I want to say my community in the gardens was pretty much my family. So since we was all super tight knit, it wasn't really. I never looked at it as community up until now. I never really actually started using that word until I got into Web3 and then when I look back on it, I want to say with me, it was like I was real picky and choosy on what type of friends I had around me, because you couldn't just have anybody around you. You wasn't really cool with everybody. You wasn't kicking it with everybody. So you really had to be real selective on who it was. And then coming into Web3, it was like, okay, I have to be selective, but I also, you know, want to be authentic. I want to say in the same statement, because I want people who are connecting with me. I always say this, like, fuck with people that fuck with you. And if you're giving me energy, I'm going to give you that energy right back. And then if that energy evolves into something bigger, then I'm with that as well. So I want to say the gardens did help me in that aspect where it was like, okay, people who show me love, I give them love back. And that's pretty much how being from the gardens helped me with community and Web3.
Yeah, I really like that mentality and that saying. You kind of reciprocate the energy that you're getting, and it sounds like you really know what kind of energy you're looking for and that you vibe with, you know, and when you see it, you know, and you reciprocate that and you hold on to that.
Yeah, always. You have to. You really have to. At least from my experience, you have to. Yeah, I feel like it's because I understand that people can say no. I understand that people cannot really rock with you. I understand that people can easily shift their attention to someone else if they wanted to because they have that right. And to be fair, like we do the same thing, or I do the same thing where it's like, okay, I like an artist's music, this, that, and the third, but I'll let them know I rock with them, that I rock with their music. But then some artists, I just be like, I'm just not really my style, but you know, I appreciate you sending it over to me, this, that, and the third. So it'd be real iffy. And I want to say everything I want to say just in the world in general is based off like personal preference. So you have to kind of like keep that in the back of your head where it's like, yeah, everyone's personal preference is completely different than others. So, you know, if someone doesn't rock with you as much as you might rock with them, then you got to kind of let that go and don't keep dishing energy out to someone that's not reciprocating it back to you.
100%. I think that's, I mean, you said that came out so easily, but I think that's a really hard thing for a lot of people to understand because everybody wants to be liked, right? Everybody wants to be liked by everybody. And if somebody just doesn't vibe with your music, somebody doesn't like you for whatever reason, like that's never a good feeling. Even if you know logically, like not everybody is going to like you. You're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And that's fine. You know that logically, but in the moment when you find out when somebody's like commenting on your stuff and saying like your music sucks or, you know, this, that, and the other, it's still hard to swallow. So
it is
good on you for just, for just knowing that and remembering it all the time.
because I mean I'm still human, so I definitely feel it. I'd be like, damn, but like as much as I might want to connect with that person and be like, man, if it's just not happening, it's just not happening.
Totally. One thing I've experienced over the last couple of years of being in the space, and I'm wondering if you experienced the same thing, is I think we might have gotten into Web3 around the same time, which, you know, for you was still very early. For me, it felt pretty early as well, but you were one of the first musical artists to do a lot of different things in Web3. And I think that alone kind of gives you a huge step up in, you know, getting your music seen, getting your music, your NFTs, you know, collected by different people. And then over time, you know, I would say starting from last fall or end of summer, whenever the market kind of crashed, the vibe has just been totally different. Like back in 2021, you know, peak NFT season. I mean, if you're doing anything in NFTs, you're getting eyes on it at least, you know, and the more eyes you get on your work, the more the higher the chance of somebody collecting your work and you making money. So it almost was like a seller's market back then if you're, you know, in this space as a creator and an artist. Nowadays it feels like finding community is like finding the needle in the haystack. Like you really have to go out there and search hard for it. It's not just coming to you, you know, it's not just coming to your Twitter timeline, it's not just coming to your DMs. You really have to go out and look for it, and that can be tiring, and that can kind of be frustrating and exhausting and demotivating a little bit. How have you kept yourself strong through this bear market that we've been in now for over 6 months, and, you know, really kept yourself motivated and kept yourself still going and still just being here and doing the thing that you've been doing?
It's definitely tough. And I want to say part of the reason why I wrote my latest Mirror article, why am I still here, is because of that point exactly. Really figuring out and finding the true fans that are really here to ride and die with me. It's definitely been rocky, but the more I communicate with my community, the more I hop in my collector chat on Telegram, the more I text some of my collectors and really keep building with them, I start to see that, like, okay, these people aren't going anywhere. We really have a solid relationship. As far as finding new ones, that's one of the reasons why I did write that article. For anyone that's new coming into want to learn more about me and who I am and what I have done in the space, that article would give a full rundown on who I am, what I've done, what I see community being, the troubles that I did have trying to understand what community was when I first got into the space, and where I see me actually continue to grow my community. I want to grow a authentic community with realistic expectations. I think, like I spoke on earlier, where it's like I want to build with people that understand who I am as an artist and who I am as a person also. So that way there's no expectations that get let down from the people that's coming in to support me. They're like, hey, I know who this artist is. I know what he's going to be doing. I'm able to keep tabs on him. I'm able to check in on him. I'm able to see how he's doing. He checks in on me, sees how I'm doing. We have a decent relationship. And then when he does decide to put music out that I actually like and support, and I like and love, that I'll support it and keep riding with this artist until, you know, till the very end. And then also, and eventually reaping the benefits of being one of the early supporters that actually rocked with Ibn and showed him that, like, okay, I actually really believe in him from the jump. So when he does keep growing, you know, I'll be able to say I helped him get to that point. I helped him with my support, and then now I'm able to come and see him for free. Me and my whole family will be able to come see him for free whenever he's performing at Coachella or Pitchfork, this, that, and the third. We're able to come and actually like have an experience that no other fan really gets to have, because I was there first and I was there supporting him. And he actually knows me, and we are on first name basis, and we're really kicking it, and our kids know each other, this, that, and the third. So that's how I really see it growing and it being for me.
That's awesome. I love that so much. Speaking of that, talk a little bit about your Mirror crowdfund for your Danger Zone EP. Kind of like, what was the thinking behind that? How did you, why did you decide to crowdfund it through Mirror? And I think you did it around the same time, actually. That's how Rehash was born too. I don't know if you knew this or not, but Rehash was born through a Mirror crowdfund. Yeah, we crowdfunded like 30 ETH to start out off Rehash. And thank you. Yeah. So I think we had very similar experiences. Yes. So, I mean, I completely understand, where you're coming from, but for listeners who maybe are artists too, and, are like, I have never thought to crowdfund an EP before. Like, how did you get this idea? And then what was that process like for you?
It was a progress in progress, because when I first had the idea, I had these coins. I had the coins that's on the actual Mirror crowdfund. I had one coin at first, and I talked to my artist, my 3D artist, and I was like, yo, like, let's make more coins. And it was like, okay, well, let's make 10. And we just did different scans for each coin. And then my initial plan was to put the coins on OpenSea. To remind you, I feel like we have to take it back to like the time where a lot of everything was pretty much new. So I was like, okay, I think I want to go. Should I go on OpenSea or should I go on Rarible? Where should I put the coins? And then how would I be able to tell the story about the coins and like where I'm from and what I'm trying to do and what my plan is? So I was thinking a Twitter thread, OpenSea or Rarible, and then sure enough and so forth, I come across Mirror, and then I'm like, oh wow, okay, so this is more so like a blogging type of platform where you get to write how you feel. And at the time, Mirror was only open to the people who had a right token and had burned their token. And at that time, to get a right token, you needed to enter into the right race. And if you got upvoted, if your pitch got upvoted by the people in the Mirror community, then you were rewarded a token, and then you were able to start posting on Mirror and stuff like that. So at the time, it was super exclusive, and I did my pitch. I think the only upvotes I ever received was the 10 that I gave myself. And I want to say how God works. I'm not really spiritual, but I really seen that this experience really helped me grow in that aspect, because it was like, I felt like it was just one of those things where everything happened exactly when God wanted it to happen. And I want to say the day after I did my pitch, the first tool that Mirror opened up to the public was crowdfunding. And I was like, wow. What? Like, I'm like, come on now. So I spent the next 3 to 4 days writing out my crowdfund, days and nights, because I stayed up until like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning writing my crowdfund. I go to sleep at 5. I wake up at 8. I get back on the computer. I start writing my crowdfund again. And I wrote everything out on that crowdfund by myself. And I didn't have like no mentorship. I didn't have anyone kind of like letting me know any ins and outs like on what this actually would entail doing this crowdfund. And I had no prior commitments from people saying like, oh, I'll invest in that. I'll definitely support that. It was all grassroots, brick by brick. So when I did launch it, I just put the tweet out on Twitter, and it just kind of went crazy. And then when I was in the Twitter spaces, I was telling my story. I was connecting with people, and eventually it got to a point where people found it, and they was like just dumping into it, collecting it. And I want to say my first collectors was Blockchain Brad. Stefan collected, he contributed. Christian, Swift Kill, Alex, Henry. It was a couple guys that came in. Like these 3 guys came in one morning where I was like figuring out, okay, I had raised a little bit of money, but then they came in and like bought like, I want to say it was the highest tiers. They bought like all the highest tiers right away. And I was like, damn, what happened? And then some collectors bought all 3 tiers. And I was like, what's really going on this morning? Like this morning is just kind of cracking right now. Like everybody just coming in, like coming out of nowhere. And then it hit a slow week. And then after that, I want to say things just ramped up. I was growing in the community. I was showing face. I was popping out. I went to NFT NYC. That was my first NFT convention that I went to. Met with a lot of other artists in the space like Latasha, Andre O'Shea, Stones. I met Hino. I met with all these artists for the first time, and I was like, man, I was like super excited to meet y'all. And it was like, we were super excited to meet you. And I was like, okay, cool. Like the energy was mutual. So I was like, okay, bet. And to this day, like I call them people in my family, like I really rock with them and we're knit tight. And after NFT NYC, that's when the crowdfund really ramped up. I ended up getting a grant from M Club DAO. They did a proposal within their DAO to contribute, I want to say 1.5 ETH to the crowdfund, and it got all yeses. It got 100% voted yes from everybody in that community. So that was like another thing that kind of ramped it up. So it really was an experience that I feel like caught even me off guard. I didn't expect for it to do what it did. I didn't expect for it to create as much buzz and hype as it did, and it took me a long 6 weeks to get it done. And it was a lot of grind. It was a lot of hustle. I went to check like other people's crowdfunds, like from based off the way that I priced mine. I went to go check other crowdfunds, and I wasn't looking for collectors that contributed, 1 ETH or 5 ETH to someone's crowdfund. I was looking for collectors that contributed what I had priced mine. And I was like, okay, well, I'm looking for someone that does that would contribute point 1 or 0.25. I'm not looking for someone that'll contribute 10 ETH or something like that. I feel like that's way right out of my wheelhouse. And anyone that had open DMs on Twitter, I reached out to just tell them my story. It wasn't like, oh, hey, contribute to my crowdfund. It was more so like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. I would like you to read my story, read my crowdfund. And if you really connect with my story and you resonate with it and you fuck with me first, then I'll love your contribution. And then after you contribute, then I'll send you the EP, which was still in progress. It was still being worked on. So a lot of contributors that contributed early got to see the project be developed from some songs not having a verse, production not being fully finished. They got to really experience and see the project develop in real time. And that's something that I really cherished and liked too, because it was like, yeah, I'm not just, reaching out to you to have you just throw money into something that you don't know anything about. Like, I'm reaching out to you to connect with you person to person. And everyone that contributed to the crowdfund, I actually had a one-on-one conversation with, and we actually chopped it up and we talked a lot. So yeah, it was definitely like a stretch though, but it was fun.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And I'm so happy for you. It was like, we had kind of like a similar experience where we set our goal for 10 ETH and ended up raising 30 ETH. And we just saw the numbers keep going up and up. I think we reached our goal in like under an hour. And it was, I was like, what's going on today? Like, I had no idea what was going on, and I was like, something is happening, and I'm not complaining, but I have no idea what's going on right now or like what caused this.
It's such a crazy feeling. And I feel like in a space, like I was the kid that kind of came out of nowhere and funded 20 ETH crowdfund. And it was like, what's going on? Like, who is this kid? Where is he from? What is he doing? And I was also giving away a portion of my streaming royalties to the top collectors, which I'm happy to say that like I'll be making good on that utility come like the next couple months when the full EP come out. The first single from the EP is dropping on June 2nd. So that's been like a real cool thing to kind of be like following up with them and letting them know like, hey, we're finally coming to DSPs. The project is ready. I need, you guys information to put in for the splits and this, that, and the third. And that's been going like super good. So yeah.
That's so
I'm excited.
Sweet. What is the status of Danger Zone at the moment? You said it's coming out June 2nd. So we've got that as a benchmark. What can people do in the meantime to kind of support?
Go to sound.xyz. The full EP is there. You can listen to pretty much all of my music. Follow me on all my socials and connect with me. Send me a message, and if I'm not following you, just shoot me a mention and just let me know. Like, you're trying to build with me, you're trying to connect and just chop it up in this, that, and the third, and we can make it happen. So, but the EP is actually out. The whole EP sold on Sound, and it sold out, which was crazy. And we actually, so now since that part of the phase is done, we're going into phase 2, where we're now going to be releasing the singles to DSPs, and then eventually the whole EP, and then working our way up into a headline show in Chicago.
That's awesome. You'll have to let me know when that is. That might warrant a trip back to Chicago for me, for sure. Yes. I was going to ask you next, actually, like, what's next for Ibn? So you've got this Danger Zone, like this is going great. Are you thinking about another album yet? And then I guess, like, how would you think about sort of like, would you crowdfund another album, or are you thinking about like different ways? I know you're always thinking about kind of like what's at the cutting edge. So just share any kind of ideas that you've thought of or that you have for future Ibn.
I really want to. So the next thing for, I feel like danger. This is a this is something that I feel like needs to be said. I've said it before, but the music NFT space moves so fast that it's hard to really see who's actually resonating with the music. I feel like that's the one of the different things with like dropping music on DSPs like Spotify and Apple Music. You feel me? You can like actually see like people listening to them, but you can't see who those people are. Now with Web3, it's like you can see who the people are who do want to connect with you, but those diehard fans aren't really coming that fast. And then also music is dropping so fast in the Web3 space where it's like, how are you even able to digest and resonate with songs that are dropping? Like if an artist drop a song today and you really love this song, are you still playing it even though 25 other artists just dropped, and you're trying to listen to those songs and you're trying to resonate with that artist and you're trying to really connect with them? Like, what songs are really holding you down? So I feel like it's not a lot of curators in the space just yet. It is some. I want to say shout out to Critty because she's really a diehard music NFT fan. She actually goes hard. She's curating playlists. She's letting people know which songs she actually fucked with, and she actually still listen to even months after it dropped. So I feel like that's something that we really need to continue to foster in the space. But I feel like we really need to figure out how to continue to grow in the space where it actually connects fans with listeners, and in a way that like just isn't like a one-off experience.
Yeah, absolutely. Are there any other challenges you found with being a Web3 artist that you hope to see fixed in the near future, or maybe things that you think are preventing other artists from getting into the Web3 space and doing what you're doing? Because, like some of the what are some of the main challenges that you think you and other artists face with Web3 still?
Keeping up with community.
Yeah.
So that's why I say it's really imperative that you cherish and hold on to the people in these relationships, but like actually stand in contact with a lot of people. That's a job within itself, and that's super hard to do. It's super hard to stay in contact with everybody and making sure you're in contact with everybody. And so I want to say, just do your due diligence and do the best that you can with the people that are actually like still supporting you, because some of my collectors are not even on Twitter anymore. Some of them just don't use that social platform. Some of them are hard to get in contact with. And it could be tough and it could be hard because it's like, yo, you still really want to hold on to these connections and these relationships, and you still do within yourself, but only when they are able to come around and like reach back out to you and, check in and see what's going on with you. That's one of the main challenges that I've been facing. Again, that's why I wrote why am I still here? Because it was like, man, like, where does community really go? Like, what does it really mean? And just because they're not on these social platforms doesn't mean that they don't still rock with you, and that don't mean that they still don't like appreciate what you've done in this space, and appreciate you for even just reaching out and still trying to stay in communication with them.
Yeah, we'll link that article too. I read that article. That's really good. We'll link it. Yeah, so everybody can read it. That's a really good one. Yeah.
Thank you. It took me so long to get that out.
That was so well written. Honestly, like so well written. You really like got it. It was such a good point. Like all the points you got across in that article were so good. And then just like the writing was so good. It was so like clear and concise and easy to read. We're definitely going to link it so everybody else can read it.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Yeah. It was tough trying to really get across like what I really wanted to say without sounding a certain type of way. But sounding just how I would sound. And showing love to the people, the collectors and supporters that are still with me to this day, that are still in my Telegram chat, showing up and saying GM, and we chat for a little bit, and then I even show up in other people's Telegrams and chop it up with them here and there. But yeah, I really feel like that's really what it comes down to, man. Just finding like people who really want to be here with you, and I feel like I've found that with my collectors.
That's incredible. I love that. Yeah. Do you have any final thoughts that you want to share with our listeners that we didn't get to talk to, or that you just want to leave people with?
For artists or any creators that want to get into the space is small, but the tech is big. Keep exploring, keep figuring things out, and actually take the time out to understand the tech. I feel like that's a huge part of it, and understand what you're getting into, and how you can actually utilize it and grow your community, and keep building and keep doing new different things in that space. It's so much happening so fast. it's okay to take a step back and kind of like look at things from a out view kind of scope, where it's like, okay, I'm just observing, I'm just seeing what's all happening, and then moving at your own pace. Because if you try to keep up with the next creator or the next artist, you'll fall flat on your face, and it won't be a pretty scene. So don't follow any trends. Make the trend, be the trend, do something that's like unique in your own way, and be authentic in that experience and in that journey, because that's what people connect to. That's what they connect with. That's what they always respect, authenticity. And man, just be you, for real, for real. If you're from the hood, then don't censor yourself in the way that you talk. Talk how you talk. If you're from the suburbs, talk how you talk. Just be you. Don't like try to be the next anybody. So yeah.
So inspiring. Thank you so much for that. Well, on a lighter note, Ibn, we end every podcast episode with a quick little game. It's called the word association game. I've got this tin here of about 50 slips of paper, and I've got a word written on each of these slips of paper. Each of these words are misused or overused words in Web3. Okay, so these should be familiar to you if you're on Twitter very much. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to randomly draw 10 slips of paper, which I'm doing right now. And then I'm going to read the word on the piece of paper, and you're going to say the first word that pops into mind when you hear the word that I read. Make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I say misused or overused, or would I just say what just comes to mind?
No, you just say the first thing that comes to mind. So like if I were to say like dog, you would just say the first word that comes to mind when you hear that. Okay, so it's meant to be really quick, rapid fire. It doesn't even have to make sense. If I say dog and the first thing you think of is penguin, you can say that.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
Okay, so here we go. First word is community. How apt.
Love.
Trustless.
Ugh. Oh no. Not good.
Not good. Media.
Oversaturated.
Yes. Protocol.
Needed.
Reputation.
Respect.
Social capital.
Important.
Governance.
Also important.
You can't say the same word.
Oh, okay. Governance. Responsibility.
Okay, responsibility. Incentive.
Oh, these got me good. Fearless.
Creator economy.
I'm trying to figure out another word other than important.
Everything's important.
Evolving.
Oh, nice. Privacy.
Not taken too serious. No, I'm supposed to say one word, right?
You can say a phrase. That's fine.
Okay. Privacy. Not taken seriously enough.
Okay. And then last one I have for you, identity.
Mysterious.
Okay. Good job.
Yes.
Hey, you did a great job.
You.
You did a great job. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate you sharing your story, being vulnerable with us, and being so inspiring too, with all of with just how you think, your mentality, your energy, your vibe, everything. Remind people again, what's your Twitter handle? What's your website? Where can people go to check you out, to get in touch with you, and to support the work that you're doing?
Awesome. So it's Ibn Inglor on every handle everywhere. It's IBNINGLOR, and Ibn rhymes with ribbon for those who may have a hard time saying it. You can find me on all these different things: Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and go check out the Danger Zone EP on Sound.
Amazing. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. This is our second to last episode of the season. So you have 2 more episodes, 2 more chances to collect your podcast NFT. and be able to help us nominate and vote on our guests for next season of the podcast. So go ahead and support Rehash, support Ibn. Our guests get a cut. They get a split of all the proceeds we make from our podcast NFTs for their episodes. So you'll be able to collect Ibn's podcast NFT episode for the next week. You can go ahead and do that on Manifold. You can find the link in our Twitter bio at Rehash Web3, and go ahead and support Ibn. Go listen to his Danger Zone, check out his EP, and support him on June 2nd when everything gets released to the DSPs. Thank you so much, Ibn. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. And we will see you again next Thursday with another episode, our final episode of Season 4 of Rehash.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Rehash. Rehash is hosted by Diana Chen, produced and edited by Ellie Dots and Tyler Internet, and sponsored by Lens, Empire Wallet, and NFT.storage. Rehash is also supported by Rehash DAO, a community of NFT holders who curate our guest lineup each season. To get involved, head over to our website at rehashweb3.xyz and collect this episode as an NFT. Anyone who collects an episode becomes a part of Rehash DAO and will be able to nominate guests for future seasons. Voting rights are reserved for our guests, sponsors, and OG crowdfund supporters. And to learn more about how to become a guest or sponsor, go to rehashweb3.xyz/podcast. Finally, be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at RehashWeb3, or on Lens at rehash.lens.